Hello and welcome into this Wednesday edition of Cronkite Sports Now. I'm Sean Rice. We hope you are staying safe and healthy this week and beyond. Even with sports on hold, there is still plenty to talk about. Let's get right into it. Over the last few days, Major League Baseball has been discussing the possibility of starting play as early as next month, but not across the country, just here in Arizona. Cronkite News reporter Kirsten Corns gives us an update on baseball's big plans.
While the coronavirus continues to spread worldwide, there is a glimmer of hope for sports fans. Over the past few days, Major League Baseball has been discussing potential plans to resume play, such as having all 30 teams play in empty Arizona ballparks as early as next month.
It seems a little far-fetched to bring in, 30 teams with the personnel and everything. It's about 100 people per team. And you're talking about all these players coming from different states, different countries, and now be in isolation.
It is a complex plan for sure, a plan that poses fear to players, staff, and media.
There's too many hurdles. I think there's too many variables. I think that the safety and the well-being of other people that need testing kind of supersedes the importance of sports.
If this is the plan, do the players feel safe going forward with this? Do the coaches feel safe? Do the media feel safe? Do the umpires feel safe? And I think it's a big if.
On top of players being in isolation away from their homes and families, there are many other factors that come into play.
Who's going to pay for all this? There's also the issue of the finances, where if there's no fans in the crowd, it means there's about a third less revenue, the owners say. The players would like to get paid full salary, at least prorated, on the games they missed, but they don't want to take a third off the top of that.
Can you guarantee that every player that takes the field is not carrying the virus, not without really widespread testing, which we don't have right now?
Additionally, health concerns surround where the players would stay, leading to the fear of putting hotel staff at risk. John Erickson, the director of sales and marketing at the Sheraton in downtown Phoenix, stated, "Our first concern is the safety and health of our staff and guests, and steps are already being taken to keep everyone a part of this plan safe."
We are working with our national partners, the American Hotel and Lodging Association, on a program called Hospitality for Hope. And what it is a database of where hotels can go and register their properties to be considered, and it pairs them with our state, local, state, and federal officials and the healthcare community to basically match make properties with healthcare needs. So although this would be Major League Baseball and sports, these healthcare requirements and the things that would need to be considered going into housing anybody would definitely be front of mind.
While no official decision has yet been made, Major League Baseball released a statement Tuesday morning stating, "While we have discussed the idea of staging games at one location as one potential option, we have not settled on that option or developed a detailed plan. But there are other plans in the works."
Baseball has talked about the possibility of having a Major League tournament. So you play in September, October, November, almost like a March Madness type thing. Say a November Madness for baseball, where everybody's in a tournament. The teams play the highest seeds, play the lowest seeds, sort of thing, just like basketball.
In Phoenix, Kirsten Corns, Cronkite News.
Major League Baseball tossed around the possibility of all 30 teams traveling to Arizona to play ball. But after disapproval from media, staff, and hotel resources, the league remains undecided on what they deem fit going forward. The NFL draft is fast approaching, and the Cardinals will have to change their preparation for this year's draft. Head coach Cliff Kingsbury acknowledged that adjustments are being made, but perspective is needed on the process.
We're able to watch film, I think that there are challenges, but it's nothing compared to what the rest of the world is facing, and doctors and nurses and people working in stores. I mean, you got to keep things in perspective. It's football, so there will be adjustments to be made, but we'll be able to call and text, and for the most part, we're at our houses watching film and doing the same draft prep we do in our office, just without the human interaction.
With the coronavirus pandemic affecting the lives of so many in Arizona, there is need everywhere, and the Cardinals are stepping up by donating 1 million meals to benefit the community.
Especially with this COVID-19 virus going around, people losing jobs, the whole physical distancing that's going on. the need for meals is more important than ever. So it just made all the sense in the world that the Cardinals and State Farm teamed up to do something great like this and make a really meaningful impact. And this is making a difference when you talk about numbers of 1 million meals.
Despite the COVID-19 outbreak, the Phoenix Suns basketball season is living on through the digital realm with an added twist. Cronkite News reporter Jose Solis learned more about the new approach to Suns NBA 2K coverage.
John Bloom, along with color analyst Tim Kempton, called the first ever Suns NBA 2K simulation on the radio on March 27th. The simulation against the Philadelphia 76ers replacing what would have been an actual road game against Philadelphia.
I didn't know how it was all going to come together technologically. We did throw it together. We made it work the first time, and I think we can get better. And it sounds like there's an appetite for us to do more of it.
While uncharted territory for Bloom and Kempton, that doesn't seem to faze the duo, as their voices on the radio suggest they are enjoying the frenetic action that comes with NBA 2K.
It includes competitiveness, which I think people like to see, where there's an undetermined outcome, just like in regular sport. You don't know who's going to win before they tip it up and actually play the game, and that's always intriguing.
John and Tim, they make it seem like a real game. Like if you listen to the last broadcast that we did, I mean, you really couldn't discern, whether or not it was a real NBA broadcast or a Twitch broadcast.
The addition of a commentary crew brings a unique enhancement to live streaming 2K, especially at a time where any and all sports content is welcome.
Hopefully Tim and I can provide some entertainment too along the way, doing something that we never anticipated doing, and just basically having fun with it.
It gives people a sense of, things are kind of normal, in the world, even though we're playing video games and not real basketball games. So I think it's very important.
In Gilbert, Jose Solis, Cronkite News.
When asked if Suns Hall of Fame broadcaster Al McCoy would be willing to try calling a 2K game, both Bloom and Larkin got a good laugh, but didn't entirely rule out the small possibility it could happen. The NHL season is on pause due to the COVID-19 outbreak, but that hasn't stopped the players from exploring potential postseason formats once the all clear is given to resume play.
Sort of playoff tournament format, almost bracketed like a March Madness. I don't think you could do just one game like they do, but if you could do a 3-5 game series, I think that'd be really exciting and something different for the fans that would raise a lot of excitement.
On today's Arizona Sports Rewind story, I am joined by our reporter, CJ Scheides. He wrote a digital story today on something that happened in 1996. So CJ, can you give me a little bit of information on what happened on today's date, 1996?
Yeah, Sean, for sure. Thanks for having me on today, by the way. And about 23 years ago today, it was not officially, I guess officially made that the Winnipeg Jets were moving down to Arizona. That was already known, but today they announced that they would pick the team name of Coyotes going forward for the new franchise or the hockey team that we have in Arizona today.
Right. So what was the draw for them to move here down to Phoenix? The formerly known Winnipeg Jets are now the Coyotes. What was the draw for them?
Well, yeah, it's actually, a very interesting question because they were originally supposed to end up in Minnesota. They were going to go to Minneapolis and play in the Target Center. But the leasing agreement kind of fell through at the last minute. And, Minneapolis was only a 6-hour drive away from Winnipeg. So that move was not going to be that big of a deal. But when that leasing agreement fell through, the next best destination was to come down to Phoenix, which was, all the way on the other side of the country for them. So you can imagine that move was kind of crazy at the time. But Jerry Colangelo, who we all are familiar with, or most of us are familiar with, is a very big Arizona sports figure here in the state. And he's the reason why we have a lot of the teams that we see today. So he kind of was the leading figure behind that push, and he was able to get the Coyotes to come down and join the Suns and the Diamondbacks, who were the only two professional franchises in Arizona at the time.
What was the process like for them picking Coyotes as the name? I understand there was a couple other possibilities for team names.
Yeah, most definitely. Whenever they were starting to make that move, a couple of the names that they were toying around with included Outlaws, the Wranglers, Mustangs. So you can see it's kind of like a very Western themed name. And then the Freeze, which is kind of ironic because, it doesn't really freeze too much here in the desert. But those are a couple of names that they were toying with. But really when it came down to it, they had top two options. Those included the Scorpions and the Coyotes. But the leading efforts by the design team, they were just able to, I guess, kind of get a lot more creative, or they liked what they were working with more when it came to the Coyotes aspect. So when it came down to the design team to create a logo, the Coyotes kind of just took the edge over the Scorpions. And that's really what came down to it. So they went with Coyotes. And, they decided to become the Phoenix Coyotes back in 1996. And now they're the Arizona Coyotes we know today.
And then lastly, I understand there was a draw to come up with the team name. Can you give me a little information about who came up with Coyotes and what they received in return?
Yeah, for sure. Well, once they had decided that they were going with Coyotes moving forward, the team decided to have a drawing for pretty much all the participants who had entered Coyotes as a team name. So there were 3 winners. 2 of them won season finale tickets to the Winnipeg Jets season finale up in Canada. And 1 lucky winner actually got lifetime season tickets for all Coyotes games pretty much going forward. And that was 17-year-old Brett Thornton. So, you can imagine being 17 years old, winning lifetime season tickets to pretty much a brand new franchise that you kind of played a part in naming. So that was a pretty big deal at the time. And that's pretty much what happened with that as far as the drawing goes.
Yeah, Brett is certainly a lucky guy to get lifetime passes to Coyotes. I know we wish we all had that as well, I'm sure. CJ, thank you so much for joining me. That was an awesome story.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Sean. Thanks for having me again.
That's it for today's edition of Cronkite Sports Now. For top Arizona sports stories from across the valley, visit the Cronkite Sports tab on arizonasports.com. And as always, for top Arizona news stories, head over to our website at cronkitenews.azpbs.org. Thank you for joining us on today's show. We'll be back tomorrow with more Cronkite Sports Now.